Welcome everybody, it is time for some science. We hope you've had a great Easter. We do apologise again that we didn't get videos up, but hopefully you are now able to see this one. Now science, there is science going on around us each and every day, and what we're going to try and look at is some science that you can have a bit of an experiment with around your house. Now you'll spot we're not in the Learning Lockdown studio, we're not even in the wildlife spot, we're in Mr. A's kitchen. We saw this all the way back on the first day of Learning Lockdown, but we're here because we thought if we're going to try and get you to do science at home, we probably need you to have things around your house. So while I've been off over Easter, I've had a look around my house, had to think about what we could do to have a go with some science. So what have I got in front of me? Well, today you're going to need some simple things. You're going to need a variety of different objects made from different materials. Now I'll show you my objects later, but for now I've got a metal spoon. You're going to need a candle. Now this is important. If you're doing this one, you need to have an adult with you and you need permission from your parents if you're using an older brother or sister, as long as they've got permission. But you're going to need some candles. You're going to need a container that can hold hot water. Make sure it's okay to hold hot water. You're going to need some little beads or even pieces of pasta would do. I've got some little plastic plugs that I had from doing a little DIY around the house. Little bolt or a nut would do. Anything will do absolutely fine. Something you don't mind getting a little bit of wax on, but something that's not too heavy and not too big. And finally, you're going to need something to light your candles with. So that's all you're going to need. Dead simple. And we're going to test what materials conduct heat, okay? Or what materials insulate heat better. So when we're talking about conducting and insulating, we're talking about lets heat pass through. Now, if something is a good conductor, it allows heat to pass through really easily or really quickly, okay? Now, we have loads of those around our house. The best option is a pan, okay? This is a really good conductor. Some people like to think, no, it's an insulator, it traps heat. No, it conducts heat because it allows the heat from the stove, whatever you've got, to pass through the bottom of the pan and through to the food really quickly. So that is a really good conductor. Then we have insulators. Now, insulators don't allow heat to pass through really easily. They stop heat as best they can. And you've got loads of those around your house. Hopefully your walls and your ceiling are insulated to allow heat to stay inside or to keep the heat outside on a hot summer's day. Even your windows, if they're double glazing, they're really good insulators. Looking around my kitchen, what I use as an insulator is a tea towel, okay? When the oven has got something in it and I need to get it out, I don't use my hand because obviously what's in there is really hot. So I use a tea towel to grab hold of it to bring it out because it insulates the heat. It stops it from passing through to my hand. So how can we test what is a good insulator and what is a good conductor? Very simply, what you're going to need to do, first of all, is get your materials that you've got, such as your spoon, and we'll look at mine in a second, and your candle. Now, I've had a candle lit for a little bit here, and I've lit it so that the wax is nice and melted, okay? I've got another one here. I've already got the wax all melted in. What you need to do is choose one of your smaller items and just get a load of wax on the end. As I said, make sure you've got an adult with you to help you. Get loads of melted wax on the end and just stick it very carefully to the tip, to the top end of your object. Now I've chosen a metal spoon here. I'm just going to move that one carefully, let that one set. And in very Blue Peter style, here are some I made earlier. So I've got a plastic paintbrush and you can see there's the wax on there and it's sticking it to it, and I've stuck it right at the top. I've got a metal spoon, and I couldn't find a completely wooden item, but it's okay because I need the wood really about that high anyway. But I've got a little wooden tool there at the top. Now you'll spot these are all roughly the same height and they're all roughly the same thickness. Now you could, when you do this experiment yourself, you could choose all the same material and try different thicknesses or different lengths and see if that changes how the heat conducts through them. But let's have a look at just this one for now. So we're testing plastic, metal and wood. Now what I'm going to need to do is get my jug and some hot water. Again, if you're using a kettle, please make sure you checked with an adult. And I boiled my kettle earlier, so the water's nice and warm, but it's not boiling because I don't want it to be that hot. So I'll get my hot water, pour it into my jug. Ooh, maybe I haven't left that long enough. You can see that's really hot because the water is evaporating and turning into steam. I've let it all out there. So I've got some hot water, being very, very, very careful. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to place all at the same time my 3 objects into here. Now you might want to start a timer the moment you put them in there. You might just want to observe it. It's entirely up to you. So you might be measuring it, you might be doing a measuring investigation where you measure the time. You might just be doing an observation investigation where you look with your eyes. Both are absolutely fine. All I'm going to do is I'm going to place my 3 objects as quickly as I can, as carefully as I can, I don't want those beads to fall off, into my hot water. Now they're all roughly the same length for my experiment because I'm testing the different materials. So I've changed the materials. I haven't changed the length or the thickness. We call that a variable, and we only want to have one variable in our experiment. So my variable are the types of materials. So what we've got is we've got the hot water in the bottom. And now these materials, if they're a good conductor, the heat from the water will pass up really quickly and get to my wax. When it gets to my wax will heat up again, it will melt, and my bead will drop off. If it's a good insulator, so it doesn't allow the heat to travel through it, the heat will travel much slower through the material and therefore get to the wax last, the wax will melt, and that bead will fall off last. So here I'm going to find out which of my materials is a good conductor, so that should be the quickest because the heat's gone really quickly, and which one's the best insulator because the heat will travel slowly. So I could observe over time, and it's a little race to see which one is going to fall first. Once you've done it with different materials, as I said, you could try it with different lengths. You could get a small metal spoon, a really large metal spoon, maybe a plastic one. You could get a really thick piece of metal. It doesn't have to be things you can find around your kitchen. Maybe you've got things around your house like spanners. Who knows? Make sure you get your parents' permission. But this is the bead race, and we're testing insulators and conductors. So I'm going to have a watch and see which ones of mine fall first. See you later. Correction quickly before this video ends. Wax, a little bit too strong. Maybe you might need a slightly taller container to get the water as high as you can, or an insulated container that will keep the heat trapped in better to pass up the materials. But wax is a bit too strong, so what I tried it with is butter. So melt a little bit of butter, dip your beads in butter, and then stick them to the end of your tools. It works much better. It melts at a much lower temperature than wax. So give it a go, but this time try it with a bit of butter. That probably will help.